Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lawrence Wong, and I'll be counting down with you to the 2020 Singapore Book Awards live show on the 13th of August, 4 p.m. 2 more days to the live show, ladies and gentlemen. And here are the finalists for the best non-fiction title. You guys ready? I know I am. Let's go.
The finalists for Best Non-Fiction Title are The First Wave, JBJ, Chiam, and the Opposition in Singapore. Written by Lok Ho Yong. Published by Epigram Books.
Hi, my name is Aldous, Managing Editor of Epigram Books. I worked with Ho Yong on The First Wave and know he is overjoyed to be nominated for this award.
The First Wave chronicles a democratic awakening in post-independence Singapore over a 30-year period when opposition figures J.B. Jeyaretnam and Chiam See Tong sought to implement their brand of checks and balances in government. The book is based on years of research, extensive interviews, and archival material. It has been called a well-articulated study that adds to a greater understanding of Singapore's modern political history as a whole.
He has worked for several long years on this historical account of Singapore's opposition figures, and the book has proved to be a seminal work in understanding local politics and election swings, evidenced in the most recent polling. We at Epigram Books are very proud to be the publisher and thank the Singapore Book Publishers Association for the nomination.
Imperial Creatures, Humans and Other Animals in Colonial Singapore, 1819 to 1942. Written by Timothy P. Bernard. Published by NUS Press.
An imperial creature is any human or animal that lived in Singapore during the colonial era. It is because imperialism on our island influenced and affected everything, from plants to animals to humans to the structures that we live amongst. And so the idea of thinking about imperial creatures is to allow us to realize how not only are we interconnected, but the influence that imperial rule had on Singapore. The most surprising fact I learned about Singapore in the book, or animals in Singapore, was that rabies was introduced by pet dogs, by domesticated fancy dogs from England. For me, the most enjoyable chapter to write was the fauna in a colonial port, because it is a broad survey of how animals and humans interacted throughout the colonial era. It takes us from the port to the countryside, into people's homes. I discuss circuses and zoos and just how animals were everywhere. They were part of society. And so you couldn't avoid them at any time. And so it allowed me to help think about the other aspects of the book. My favorite reader response has been someone who told me they never have thought of Singaporean history in such a manner. One of the goals of the book was to get people to think about the imperial past, think about colonial rule in Singapore and how it shaped and changed the island.
So the next question is actually, what kind of books do you read, and do you have any book recommendations?
So I'm reading this book. It's about animals in Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Because, there were no tigers in Singapore until people came here. And then when it became more populated, then the small animals came here. And then the tigers swam across, because then they could eat the goats and stuff like that, you see. Yeah. So it's really quite fascinating how the whole story emerged.
Yeah, I never thought about animals in Singapore back then. That would be an interesting read.
It is, yeah.
And one of the things I would like readers to remember about the book is that our past is complex. It involves all people that lived here, but it also involved animals. It involved everything that makes up our society. And so if we can use these tales of animals to better understand Singapore, then I think it's succeeded. Thank you.
A Place for Us, written by Cassandra Chu, published by Ethos Books, an imprint of Page Setters Services.
Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra Chu, a social advocate striving for a genuinely inclusive place for all of us. And with me here today, beside me I have my guide dog, Elkie. Actually, she's my second guide dog. My first, Esme, who is featured in many of the later chapters in A Place for Us, is now happily retired and leading her Tai life. Some of you may know me as the noisy, demanding blind woman, trying to lead as normal a life as possible, but often complaining about being thrown out of public places with my mobility aid. Yep, that's me. I'm willing to risk ridicule, criticisms, and even lashbacks, because my dream has always been and will remain hopefully arriving at a place with fellow Singaporeans where a majority of persons with disability can enjoy the same opportunities as everyone else. Many of my friends have often asked me, why don't you just move somewhere else, somewhere where it's easier for a disabled person like you to live in? But I cannot, and I will not, because this is my home. A home that I'm proud of, a home that I love, and more importantly, one that I want to belong in. As a blind person, I'm really grateful to be where I am in life and to have been given the opportunities that I've been given. But many of my friends with disabilities and who are blind don't have those same opportunities. Many work in social enterprises earning less than $1,000 a month. How is anyone supposed to survive and lead a dignified life in Singapore with $1,000? I don't know, especially if you consider the added associated costs like medical bills and adaptive equipment for someone who is blind. I conceived the idea behind A Place for Us upon the realization that dignity and inclusion does not come naturally for many, despite the huge and tremendous efforts that have gone behind a lot of the inclusive policies in recent years. The push for greater inclusion, especially for those of us with disabilities, has gained a lot of momentum. However, despite the great support from the movers and shakers in policy making, disappointingly, the shifts in policy lack the necessary impact. Disability issues is a subset of wider social gaps that have taken more center stage. There's no quick fix solution. The path to including the disabled cannot only be with goodwill or incentives or hopes that people will do the right thing. That's naive thinking, wishful thinking. Singapore is well known around the world for being a clean city. We behave in a certain way, we follow rules, and always do the right thing. Over the past 60 years, the way we interact with one another and the world around us has been based on the rule of law. By and large, the upright people we are as Singaporeans is enshrined in legislation. Hopes and prayers alone are not enough if we're serious about building an inclusive society. For those of us who truly want to understand and are considering playing a real part, I wrote A Place for Us, through eyes that cannot see, a written account of what it is like to live with blindness. I hope that my work would alert us to the very important need to build a social safety net for those of us with disabilities. Till the time that we're ready to legislate how the 10% of us with disabilities should not be excluded, a commitment to genuine inclusivity and not mere tokenism. Okay, don't bite your hand. Okay.
And those are the finalists for today. To know the winner of this category, join us on the 13th of August, 4 p.m, right here at the Singapore Book Publishers Association Facebook page. Join me tomorrow as well to know the finalists for the Best Picture Book. Right here, same time, same page. My name is Lawrence Wong. See you tomorrow. Have yourselves a great day.
shortlisted titles in Singapore Book Awards 2020 are available on Amazon. Get your copy now.